Hey guys, it is Kevin with Spirit of Twilight. Just kidding. Today we're going to be wrapping a beautiful little gem that I have here. Gorgeous fluorite. It is half blue, half purple, and it is all around gorgeous. At least I think so. Really like it. Love it, love it, love it. So we're going to wrap this today in sterling silver. I'm just going to move my bench in a little bit. Alright, so let's get started with a cage. I'm gonna take my sterling silver wire that I purchased from Rio Grande, not sponsored in any way, shape, or form. Let's see. So I need just enough wire to go around the stone with a little excess. So let's take. Yeah, let's take about 4 inches. Maybe 3.5. This is a square wire, sterling silver, 18 gauge from Rio Grande. Again, not sponsored in any way, shape, or form. However, if they'd like to, please feel free to contact me. Not YouTuber. Asking for assistance. So we're gonna take our flat nose pliers and create an indent like we normally do. We'll bend our wire a little bit more than what we need to, and then stretch it back out. That's going to harden this indent. We're going to open that up. Just take a look at it around the stone really quick. Make sure we have enough room and everything is good. So I'm going to take this bottom piece and bend it right where the stone, or bottom of the stone ending would be. There we go. Okay, so now that we have that shape, go ahead and wrap the wires around like so. And then before securing your wires, you just want to take this and make sure that's the size you want. Now that looks a little bit too tight, so I'm going to open that up. Stretch this a little bit. And I'm going to realign our bottom wires. So let's try that. Still looks too tight. Okay, so let's open this one up. This one is still too tight. That's about right. I have a little wiggle room. Just to get everything where I want it to be. So I'm going to take some 21 gauge half round. That's a round wire, that's not half round. Okay, hang on 1 second. Let's do 20 gauge half round. And I'm gonna cut 2 pieces. I might need a third, but we'll see. And the pieces that I'm cutting are about 2.5 inches, relatively. And we're going to take our wire and create the backing to our cage. So, as always, we're taking the flat side of the wire and putting that face towards the backing of our pendant. And that way it is flat against the wires for the backing and also flat against the stone. Check that, and we're going to put it into place very carefully. I'm going to move that up slightly. I'm going to do the other side. Try not to stretch the wire too much so it keeps the distance between the two base wires as closely as possible. Okay, so let's push that down into place. Then I'm going to snip this off because I don't need that extra. There we go. Okay, so since I have this in place, I'm then going to take my endings and curve them in slightly. This one's a little shorter. And try not to move your wires so much. Go. Now, if they do end up being a little bit on the diagonal side, that's fine. It's just the backing to the pendant. It doesn't affect the overall design. Okay, let's measure our stone once again. Make sure. Okay. Actually, these are going to have to be straight. I can't bend them. There's not enough wiggle room for the stone. So we're just going to leave those straight on the side there. Make sure everything is kosher. Okay, then we're going to do our top one. Again, flat side to the wire. That way the flat side of the stone is resting on a flat side of a wire and it won't slip through. And again, this one you can do tighter. Start off with. And you can wrap this 3 times if you want to. I'm going to do that because there's only one base wire left and it gets kind of small looking in a way. Cut that off. And tighten it into place. There we go. Okay, so we're going to adjust this to where we want the other wire to be, and I want it probably as close as I could possibly get it so the stone is held nice and orderly. So again, we're just going to wrap this side. This side, again, being a little bit cautious of how tight you pull. Just make sure you're not pulling the 2 outer wires together. We'll cut this one short as well. There we go. We'll just shape this into place. Okay, so that's our cage. And the cage fits the stone rather perfectly. But I still have areas to work with on the top and bottom and a little bit on the left and right sides. Go ahead and make sure all this is staying the way it's supposed to since we're not bending the base wires. Okay. So first things first, we want to create our bale. And creating a bale is really easy. You could use a regular wire that's thicker. For example, this is the 16 gauge. And this one is the 14 gauge. Now the 14 gauge is thicker than the 16 gauge, but I think I want to do... Let's do the 14 gauge. So we're going to take 14 gauge wire, and I'm going to snip off maybe 6 inches. And again, these are half round, dead soft. Everything that I work with is dead soft, because if I need something to become harder, I simply harden it myself. And that way you don't have to spend so much money on buying dead soft wire versus half hard wire and blah 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 blah. Just buy all dead soft and harden it as you need it. So we're just going to place this in the center, hold it, and squeeze. Realign it. Squeeze. There we go. Okay. So now we have this connected. Just going to bend this over to create my bale. And you could use this using a pen, a pencil. If you have a tool like I do for bales, you could use that too. I like to use just my fingers for the simple fact that it's easier to work with, to have the wire do exactly what I want it to. If I wanted a perfect oblong or circular shape, I could use my tool, but I really don't need to. Okay, so I'm just going to move this right along here. And then I'm going to crimp this into place. Now I'm going to go back up to my original wire that I started with and reclamp that. I want to make sure now at this point that it's tight, that it's not going to move as much as what it was. Okay, so we've got that taken care of. So what I'm going to do next is just go through to the next segment that I want to cover, which I'm going to go straight to the bottom. Now we're going to do another little formation right here. Now the bigger you go with your gauges, even though you have dead soft, the more difficult it may be to work with. And why I say that is because, unfortunately, the thicker the wire, the tougher it is to bend, which is another reason why I buy all dead soft wire. Okay, so we've got this going on here. I'm just going to pull this through at the bottom, and I'm trying to hold the shape of the bottom that I just created on the pendant. Okay. So what this is actually doing is creating a structure for a design. Now this isn't the design that I was originally going to work with. I was going to try to do something kind of Art Deco-ish, but I kind of wanted to go with a more wave approach. For some reason I was drawn to it. Okay. Okay, so up this way and around through the bale. I'll hold that as steadily as possible. Here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this around the actual bale itself. Well, this is probably going to become a partial bale. I'm probably going to add to it. That's short. We're just going to physically attach it to the back, like so. Okay. So that is the first part of getting everything working together and cohesive and so on and so forth. So now that I have a frame along with my other base wire, I just want to make sure my stone's still going to fit. And it should. Yeah, it actually is very snug, so that's a good thing. Okay, I want to move this up a little bit too. If we can do that. Try pushing it up. That'll work. Okay. Alright, so our stone is pretty much soft set at this point. I wasn't expecting it to fit that snug, but it did, and that's not a problem, really. There we go, now it's a little bit looser. Okay. Alright, so what I'm going to do from here is now I'm going to work with the design. Don't mind me getting a drink. And I'm just going to go ahead and work with this as I have it. I'm going to pull this up a little bit. It's just rounded and following that edge wire or the base wire. And my stone did slide down just slightly. Okay. So now we can start with designing and creating intricate pieces or really nice looking pieces for around the stone. I'll just get that out of the way, a little bit of shavings, silver. Okay, so I'm going to take another piece of 14 gauge. I'm probably going to do the same length. And I'm going to follow the pattern that I just created. Just to keep it simple, yet interesting. Because this is starting to remind me of water. And like I said, originally I was going to do an Art Deco type of piece, but then when I looked at the colors of the stone, it's saying water to me. It's saying movement. So let's go ahead and do that. Go ahead and put this through here, just like we did with the first one. We'll wrap it up and around. Take it to the bottom. Following the other wire. Trying to hold my stone at the same time. Okay. This time I'm going to go over what I did before instead of following it exactly. And the reason being is because that wire is now going to help support that stone. Go. We're going to do the same thing through the bale. This time I'm going to attach it to the base wire instead of the bale itself. There we go. Okay, so now our stone is pretty much set. It's not going to come out. Alright, so now I need to fill in the gaps of the rest of this. Now, this is coming a little loosey-goosey at the top. So let's get my little bale pliers, I like to call them. And making sure these stay in order. That way they match. So here we go. This is what we have so far. 2 wrapping wires of 14 gauge, half round, dead soft, and also we have our base wire, which is the skeleton, and also 21 gauge half round for the backing. So this stone isn't going anywhere at this point. I could literally stop right now if I wanted to, but I don't feel good about doing that. Drink, sorry. Okay. So let's see if we can move this down a bit. I'm pressing very gently. I don't want to create any markings on the silver. There we go. That's a little bit better. Stone is still good. Okay. So let's take a bit of... let's go with the 16 gauge this time. So this is half round, sterling silver, 16 gauge, which is a little bit thinner than the 14. But it's going to add some interest to the pendant itself. So I'm only going to use this for a little bit of interest. So I'm just going to take maybe 2 inches, 2.5 at most. And I want to create some drama here and down below, just to fill in those gaps a bit. I could actually do one across the top on the bale as well, but we'll see how that works. So I'm going to start down here. Okay. I'm just going to wrap this around the side. And into place. Then I'm going to turn this wire around, like so. And follow the path of the second wire. So, going back to this wire here, it moved. Push that above. If you happen to scratch your wire, it's okay. Just go get the finest grit sandpaper you can get and sand it down. It won't hurt it, but you may have to polish it. Okay. Okay, so I've got that in place. I've got this in place. Slow down a bit. I'll follow the same pattern. But I'm going to put this in between these two at the top. And then I'm going to wrap this around the bail. So now the bail is actually secured together, as it should be. Okay. It created some interest, almost like a knot at the top, which I really like. Pull that down. Go. That looks good. So far, we're doing really well. Just adding some tightness to. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to create something to fill this in. If I want to, or again, I could leave it blank. It'll be fine. It's not going anywhere, as far as that's concerned. But I really would like to add some interest up here just a little bit, maybe a swirl to kind of pair off from the side here. So I'm going to go back to my 16 gauge again. And this time I'm going to cut off probably about 3 to 3.5 inches. And again, this is half round. Okay, so what I'm going to do is create a swirl to add movement to the pendant in that area. So I'm just going to take my nylon pliers, and I've already started bending it a little bit. Just want to easy move it around with the round portion of the wire facing towards you. Okay, so this is going to become the bottom since it's shorter. And I'm just going to make a very nice swirl. Very tight swirl. There we go. And then from that swirl, I'm going to work with the top wire. And again, trying to keep this as flat as possible with the round side facing towards you. Move it around very gently. Keeping it as tight as you can. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we have a little swirl. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to move that back wire literally behind it. Like so. There we go. So you can barely see that. And I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to put it here. Let's see if this will work better this way. Yeah, well, okay. So I'm just going to take this swirl and attach it here. Okay. Then I want to bring the round side of the wire back out. I'm going to twist it and take it around this way. So it looks like it's all one piece. And I'm going to run this through again, if I may. We'll hook on that. There we go. I wanted to make sure the piece came through the bottom. And that needs to be tightened a bit. There we go. Just felt that snap into place. I'm just going to tack that piece. Go. So this almost created like a drip effect on the side. That's actually kind of cool. I like that. Okay, but that's it for today. This is actually our pendant. It is a fluorite or fluorite, purple and blue, and it is really, really pretty. I'll probably put this on my website in a couple days. But thanks so much for joining me, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Bye.